Hello and welcome to the 400th episode of the EDHRECast, where we're all about Commander, data, and dad jokes. I'm Joey Schultz and I'm joined by my pun-tastic co-hosts. Dude, happy episode 400. It's Matt Morgan.
Happy episode 400 to you too, Joey. I had a quick question though. I'm trying to figure out how many optometrists it takes to screw in a light bulb. Do you know if it's one or two? Or one or two? I can't possibly tell. Well, good. I'm glad that you saw what I did there.
There we go. All right. Well, let's introduce our other co-host here. Dana Roach, happy episode 400 to you too, buddy.
Thank you very much. It is negative 17 wind chill here today in Wisconsin. It's
awful.
It's freaking me out, but I'm trying my best to let it go. Let it go.
Beautiful spring day.
Wow.
Oh.
No. Goodness gracious. I can't believe that I've been putting up with this for 400 episodes. People listen to us voluntarily. That's wild, isn't it?
The cold doesn't bother me anyway.
Anyway, welcome to the EDHREC podcast. All right, fellas. So we've been doing this show for 8 years, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is a wild thing to say. And that means we've challenged a lot of stats over the years. And I don't know about you, but I feel like we've been hogging the spotlight a little bit. And I think it's time that we gave the rest of the community a turn.
Yeah, I think like we've maybe gotten, too good at this. So let's maybe let some amateurs take a crack at challenging stats.
Yeah, amateurs.
Some up and comers.
Yeah, so some burgeoning content creators that we happen to reach out to and got a few challenges. See if they are cut from the same cloth as we are.
Yeah, we'll see if folks have heard of them. There might be some small names, Tulare Community College. What even is that? So how about we go through a couple of these clips that folks have sent to us to look at some of their favorite cards or cards that they think are seeing too much play and see where Commander is at today. Mm-hmm. First up, let's start with Rachel Weeks from the Command Zone.
Hey everybody, it's Rachel Weeks, and I am once again going to bang the drum for one of my favorite Magic cards, Public Enemy. This is a 3-mana blue aura that says, enchant creature, all creatures attack enchanted creature's controller, each combat if able. When enchanted creature dies, draw a card. That's right, it's 3 mana. Every other player, including yourself, has to send every single creature they have at the player who owns the enchanted creature. Yep, and once they figure out how to get rid of that enchanted creature, you draw a card for your trouble. Seems pretty good. Who needs propaganda if all the creatures are going in one direction?
I mean, yeah, I love Disrupted Quorum, and so having this effect kind of in blue, I really like this. And it's also a good way to make sure that the person that is pulling ahead of the pack is, actually getting targeted, focused on, whatever. Mm-hmm. It makes the political decisions for your opponents that you can't trust with political decisions. I really like that about this card.
Yeah, I read this in my Mono Blue Aura deck, and there's a little bit of nuance to it. Rachel mentioned that that includes your creatures. So it's one of those things like if you're planning to swing elsewhere, cast it on second main so you can make your decisions about where you want to attack on the first main. And also though, a lot of times there's something in play that says cannot block or, is tapped down with stun counters or in some way, shape, or form, isn't going to be a blocker.
Right. And
oftentimes that's just the optimal target. I'm going to hit this person's creature that says, can't be declared as a blocker. And so they can't even chump block with it. They have to use a removal spell or something to get rid of that creature or the aura, or they're just getting hit every single combat. So yeah, I am a big fan of this card, and there's a lot of interesting play with it as well that lets somebody who's good at making decisions really kind of shine.
Yeah, these types of effects, I'm putting in mind of Bloodthirsty Blade too, kind of, which is the equipment you can use to continually goad whatever is the biggest problem on the board. And that's a card that I've recently been I need to reevaluate how I view this card because it reads in such a way that mentally I discount it, but I should not be doing that because that card routinely is better than it actually looks. And that is how I think I'm feeling here with Public Enemy. I think my impression is out of date. I should be reconsidering this. Because even the dynamic of if a person wants to attack you, now you're forcing them to use removal on someone else's creature that you enchanted with this for them to get into position to even do that. That's a pretty cool dynamic. For the exact stats on this real quick, it's showing up in about 8,000 decks so far. That's 0.21% of the 3.7 million blue decks that could run it. Rachel, this is a clever pick, and I am just now imagining the horror dawning on me if someone puts this enchantment on my commander. I'm like, oh no, I am not safe. And if that's how I'm reacting, then yeah, that means it's one of those cards that I should give a more proper chance to the next time that I tinker with my deck lists. So thank you so much, friend.
Well, I like the way that Dana kind of framed it too, is like when you think about it, like your opponent that you put this on, they're incentivized to get rid of that creature. So if you think about it as like it's a removal spell that draws you a card in mono blue, that's actually really, really powerful because your opponents, like, they're going to get beat down unless they get rid of that creature. So finding a way to turn this into a removal spell almost, I like that approach. So this is really, really cool. There's a lot of nuance to this card and this pick. So thank you, Rachel, and thank you, Dana, for opening my eyes on Public Enemy.
Well, next, let's take a look at some clips from the folks from Commander at Home and Elder Dragon Hijinks. That's Olivia Gobert-Hicks, Brian Kibler, and of course, Ailey.
Hello. I would like to challenge the stats today on obviously one of the best cards in Magic the Gathering for cowards like me that don't like to attack but love an attack trigger, and that's Dolmen Gate. You guys, it's only used in 1.11% of decks, but why? It's a super sweet artifact that means no damage gets through to your attackers. Why? Like, get the thing. And if you're playing white, why aren't you running Reconnaissance? Oh my God, it's the best. Reconnaissance gives you 5 opportunities to pull your creatures out of combat at any point in time during those. You can maybe deal damage if they're going to be fine and then untap them because it's that pseudo vigilance. Or maybe, again, you just want the attack triggers and nothing else bad to happen to you or your things. These two cards are super sick for people like me that love having creatures that do things but maybe don't want to swing into obviously the lethal threat across the board from you. I think they're super cool and that they should get checked out.
Hey everyone, Brian Kibler here, and it may look like I recently got punched in the face, and that's because I pretty much did get punched in the face at a recent foam fighting event I was at. And if you want to avoid being punched in the face by your playgroup, I suggest you play fewer tutors. If you look at the decks that I play on Commander at Home, you'll notice that pretty much none of them have any kind of effects that search their deck except for lands, and that's because I think that tutors kind of just make decks less fun. They make them play out more repetitively. You end up seeing more of the same cards all the time, and you end up taking up more of the time in the game, especially if you play a tutor without a clear vision of what you're going to find. This is especially true if you loan a deck to someone, or if you play the deck for the first time in a while, and you don't really know necessarily. It's like, okay, I'm going to play this. What am I going to get? Looking through your entire deck. It just takes so long, and I think you just have more fun both for yourself because you get to play with more different cards more often, and for the rest of your table because you're just not monopolizing the game time. So take those tutors out of your deck. You'll thank me later.
Woo!
What's cracking, everyone? I'm Ailey, and I hate running out of things to do in a Commander game. So the card I would like to put forward as criminally underplayed is Trading Post. Sure, it's very expensive, and there's probably a bunch of other cards that do better things now, but I don't care because this one makes cute goats, so this is the one I'm picking. Trading Post. It has 4 activated abilities, all of which cost 1 and a tap. You can either discard a card to gain 4 life, pay 1 life and create a goat token, sacrifice a creature, return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand, or sacrifice an artifact to draw a card. Now, considering the amount of artifacts and, graveyard nonsense and aristocrat effects, blah, 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 this kind of fits in pretty well almost anywhere, I would say. I think it's just a great way to be able to keep doing something, dig through the deck, because, yeah, I hate sitting there top decking and not having any mana sinks whatsoever. So, yeah, I think Trading Post is neat, and I think goats are cool.
I mean, Ailey, I too think goats are cool. So well played there. No arguments.
Yeah, I can't argue with that logic at all.
But seriously, like, I think Trading Post is perpetually that 102nd, 103rd card in literally every deck that I construct. It's kind of like Mimic Vat, where like, yeah, I want to put this in every single deck, but I end up putting it in none.
Sure.
And it's just perpetually that last card that I cut because it just, it's so generic and I want to do something specific so often.
That's what I was going to say. The thing that came to my mind was Mirage Mirror, I'm like, oh, this could work anywhere, and therefore I put it nowhere, which doesn't make sense because when you actually have it in play, it greases so many wheels for you. And whenever I see trading posts, I'm like, oh yeah, they could just emergency make a blocker. Oh yeah, they could just like cash something in to get a different resource. It's a great card. It's like a little not a planeswalker type of thing, and I'm always like more impressed by it when I see it. And yet, because it could go anywhere, I never put it anywhere, which is wrong of me. So Ailey, love the pick. I also love the shout out for no tutors from Kibler there. We've done an entire episode about like, hey, we're bored of these. So we've been taking them out of our decks, but I'm actually, as a project for 2026, I'm taking all shuffling out of my decks. We did that 200 card deck exercise with the command zone, Dana, where we couldn't do any shuffling there at all.
Yeah.
I guess I just really enjoyed that challenge. I have actually kept my Baba Lazaga list as 200 cards ever since then. Links to all of our decks are, of course, in the description if folks ever want to see those. But yeah, I think that, and also playing a little bit of Riftbound, has just kind of inspired me to want to remove shuffling from my decks as much as possible. The less shuffling in my decks, the more fun I seem to be having.
Yeah, I've cut down. I think I have no more than 12 tutors in my deck, so I'm trying to keep it down to a reasonable amount. No, I think aside from 2 decks that have like a hidden commander, I'm not running any tutors anymore at this point for the same reason. Like there's always that really obvious, like the best choice. Like that makes it not fun then when you try the tutor and you know what you're going to go get every single time. That it's not even about like the gameplay aspect of it, which also makes sense. But for me, I just don't like the fact that like I know the obvious target every time, and if you don't go get it, then that also feels bad too. So I've just removed the temptation entirely.
Yeah. I think the big thing that has drawn me to that is it feels like it goes so much against the nature of the format, the kind of the spirit of why we play Commander, because it is singleton and tutors effectively are a second copy of whatever card you want to be in your deck. So being able to embrace kind of the randomness of it and enjoy and embrace that variance that comes with a Commander deck, I'm all on board for it. And so to me, it's just appreciating the format for what it is in me taking out tutors of my own decks.
And I love Dolmen Gate. I've got it in my Agnes deck that's very aggressive. I want to be attacking every turn to make treasure. And it lets me not care. I don't have to like worry about if there's blockers. I don't have to like, I can just recklessly, mindlessly attack with everything every turn and make treasure, which is the deck wants to be doing, and not have to like worry about my creatures dying. Now I'm wide open for counterattacks, but like I'm doing that anyway. So like it's just a perfect card in that kind of deck. And there's a lot of decks like that where like you want to be able to swing every single turn, and it lets you do that without having to worry about what's going on in the board.
I mean, it's a shame though that Kibler didn't have a Dolmen Gate of his own, because it looks like he definitely took combat damage in that clip. So
if he could have reconnaissanced himself away from the foam, then he
could have pulled himself away from it. He definitely was dealt combat damage, you might say.
That is so silly. I gotta shout out here, by the way, since we're here in episode 400, and I was looking back at some past episodes, one of our Patreon perks is our list of all of our challenge stats, and I looked up Reconnaissance. I love Olivia for shouting out this card as well, which can let you remove those creatures from combat, even after they've dealt combat damage, because of the way that the steps of combat work. We challenged that one on episode 8 of this show. So thank you, Olivia, for bringing that back. We need to keep beating this drum because the card really is that girl. It really is that good. And yet, no matter how many times we try and say it, we need to get the awareness out there. So thank you for giving us an excuse to talk about one of our favorite cool combat trick pieces again.
And before we get too much further, we have some shoutouts to do here. We're excited to be teamed up with Dragon Shield moving into 2026. Being able to put an Dragon sleeve on your Dragon deck is a big deal to a lot of people, or between those and the Landfall sleeves and the upcoming guild sleeves featuring the Ravnica guilds, there's all kinds of customization you can do with Dragon Shield products. And that's before we even get to their ability to actually make custom sleeves. They've got a ton of stuff coming out this year, a lot of licensed WotC art. It's going to be really cool, the things you can do moving forward.
There's a lot to like about what Dragon Shield has coming up this year, and that's just stuff they've announced. I'm sure there's stuff coming down the pipe that we don't even know about that's going to be pretty freaking cool too, so check it out.
Yeah, if you use the promo code EDHREC in all lowercase at dragonshield.com, you get 5% off your next purchase. It helps the show and it helps your cards. Stay safe.
And if you'd like to support the show, there's a ton of ways that you can do that. I mean, we talk about subscribing to YouTube all the time to make sure you don't miss anything, but it also helps the channel out a ton too. But we talk a lot about Patreon and how that supports the podcast. And I want to take a minute to like explain why it is so important, just because, man, it really is such a huge deal. So first off, we appreciate anybody who goes to patreon.com/EDHRECast. It's an awesome way to support us and just be able to make all this content. We've been doing this, like we said, 400 episodes plus however many other videos Joey's done on YouTube. There's a ton of content we put out there, and Patreon just really, truly does make it all happen. And it's just a fantastic way for you to support any of your favorite creators, whether it's us, whether it's going to online tools. We do this for EDHREC. And I mean, ads are a pain in the butt for everybody, and nobody likes ads. But if you want a way to support other websites like EDHREC, like Architect even, you can head over to their Patreon accounts and support them over there too, as a way to get ad-free browsing, anything like that. Or if you want to join our Patreon. So there's so many different ways that Patreon is letting creators and other tools out there give back to the users. And that's just one way that we definitely love being able to show our appreciation to all of our supporters on Patreon, because we couldn't do this if it weren't for all of our Patreon people out there supporting us like this.
Always understand that Patreon support is not the thing that makes sense for everyone in every single situation. Free ways of supporting the show are also fantastic. When you like, when you subscribe, when you leave reviews, those are all fantastic ways to support the folks that you love too. But for the folks for whom it does make sense to support things on Patreon, holy crap, that goes so far. And it doesn't just go far for us, but it goes so far for a whole bunch of other people who help make this community what it is. So yeah, truly can't say thank you enough. 400 episodes of this, what the heck? What a great thing. And that doesn't happen without all of y'all. So yeah, truly thank you.
Yeah, well, and we do want to show our appreciation for our patrons. I'm going to do a patron shout out, which is another perk that we like to give back to our listeners and supporters. So this week, we're going to give a very special episode 400 shout out to Edric Sanchez, who was the bane 15 years ago when the format was just brand new. Sorry, different Edric, but either way, Edric Sanchez, thank you so much. Hopefully you're not the spy master of trust, because then we couldn't really trust you, but you seem pretty good. Thank you for all the support. And truly, to the rest of our Patreon supporters, we would not have gotten anywhere close to episode 200 if it weren't for all of you. So thank you all very much.
Edric, was it you who was LARPing with Kibler, who punched him and then drew a card because of the Edric effect? I need to know these things.
All right, well, let's jump back into getting some challenges from some, up and coming obscure content creators here.
Yeah, who's this next one? I've never even heard of him. It goes by Prof from the Tolarian Community Collage.
Prof. I would bet it's pronounced Prof. That seems right.
All right, let's take a look, and we'll also hear from the folks at One More Mana as well.
Oh, hello. Yes, I have an underrated card for you, and yes, it's a merfolk. Coming from Vidalia, for those who don't remember or are ignorant, the merfolk empire of Dominaria, Vodalian Mage is an underrated force spike on a stick. Force spiking a spell is a seemingly small thing, but denying your opponents to tap out anytime they want, or backing up another counter spell of yours, Vodalian Mage can be a fun political tool in your control decks, or in your merfolk decks, which I assume you have many of.
Nice to hear from the newcomers.
Hello and welcome to the EDHRECast, where we're all about Commander, the petty, and the suffering of our opponents. I'm Ced, joined by these two numbskulls who are going to introduce themselves in just a moment. Up first is Hado Ken. His favorite card is Oko the Broko, and if you remove it, he will choco you.
Based on the premise of the show, we have to do a dad joke. So for my dad joke, hey Derek, your daddy's so ugly he got to sneak up on his bathwater.
Oof.
Ooh, yeah, that's how we do dad jokes around here. Up to defend himself next is Derek. He went to the school of kids who can't read good, and he graduated at the top or bottom of his class.
Still don't know. Ken, I don't want to hear that. Your daddy's so old. He was friends with the Burger King when he was still a prince.
Ooh, oh man.
Strong.
No, wait, no. Let me cook him right quick.
Oh no, we don't have time for that because we got to
I'm about
jump.
to flame brawl him. Your daddy is so old, his memory's still in black and white. Your daddy's so dumb, he got to get backup cables for his Wi-Fi. Your daddy is so dumb, he has to Uber Eats from his refrigerator. You want to go there? We can go there, Balake. We can go there.
All right, so
I'm
we can
sorry,
get
what
into
are
the
we doing?
dad jokes, but we really want to get into the data.
I know we killed it with the dad jokes, but yes, it is time to challenge some stats. And the stat we are challenging today is the Eternity Elevator in Grimmothy R. Buckets Grim. The Eternity Elevator is one of the spacecraft that allows you to station it for a whole bunch, tap it for a whole bunch of mana. And with Grim's ability to tap and untap and eat zombies and get big, you can basically in a single turn station this for 1 million, tap for 1 million mana, and it is only in 8 Grim decks currently. That is 0.2%. Y'all are doing it wrong.
So I definitely got to say Grim is a great pick for this. He's an oldie, but definitely a goodie. And the fact that he pairs up well with cards from like Edge of Eternities, like that's even better because that set was already primed for creatures who can like do their own tapping and untapping and whatnot. And Grim just brings the whole package, especially the fact that he's just getting bigger and bigger every time you do it. So scary, but great choice. Ken, I got to hear your thoughts on this.
Okay, yeah. You want my thoughts? My thoughts is he didn't bring up a card that's in 0 decks, and that card is called Yo Daddy.
Challenge the stats became challenge each other.
Challenge each other's parents. Goodness. But, I mean, thank you first off. Like, that was... There's some of my favorite dudes out there. They're super fun.
Absolutely.
Go subscribe.
Play games with. Go subscribe to One More Mana. And, I mean, I guess that up-and-comer professor, Tolarian Community College as well.
Sure.
They do all right. But I do really like this Eternity Elevator as a way to just kind of power out just so many counters from a Grim deck. Like, it's so easy because, A, you already want to be sacrificing things in, like, those zombie decks, Joey. I know this is kind of up your alley, but Grim, like, they love sacrificing everything and anything. So if you're untapping Grim at the same time, it just seems really, really easy to why not station? Why not find other ways to benefit from him being tapped and untapped all the time?
And Prof actually touched on something, his challenge there. The card itself, it's not so much that it like force spikes a spell. It's the fact that it makes everyone play around it.
That's the thing, yeah.
I've never seen this in a game, but like Crystal Shard is one you see a lot where you can bounce someone's creature as an artifact unless they pay 1. It's not just necessarily effective because you can bounce a creature. Why it's effective is it makes everyone have to leave a mana up no matter what they do or risk losing something. And that's kind of the same principle here. It's not about what it does necessarily. It's about kind of what it impacts on not just your one opponent's turn, but like every single player's turn has to take that into consideration. And that can really impact a game.
Yeah.
It's a way to kind of heuristic study without getting your tires slashed by your friends, basically.
Right. Exactly.
That is the thing that I think is so interesting about a card like Vodalian Mage is the text that it doesn't actually say, but the actual like impact that is there. And that's a good reminder for folks. Cards can read one way and then play an entirely different way. And this is certainly one of those. You probably have to be pretty deep into the merfolk sauce to really want to give this a chance. But if I saw this in a Hawkball deck, I'd be like, oh, suddenly my relationship to all of my spells just became different because of that just in case-ness that is suddenly impacted there. And that can be a small thing, but that small little sliver, that little pinprick of a problem could be enough to change things in a very slight direction for you. And I mean, if nothing else, that's a cool influence to have on other players at the table, right?
I still think, like you said, Joey, you have to be going to like that bottom of the barrel, like the bottom of the barrel so deep that like Ken's dad can't reach it or whatever they were saying.
All right, well, up next, we're going to hear from a whole group of people, 2 folks from the Magic Mirror podcast, Salubrious Snail and 33 Elk, as well as our friends Anna Margaret and Power Dragon. Let's hear what they got.
I'm Salubrious Snail, and if I had to narrow myself down to one single pet card, it would be Astral Slide. I love that the card has kind of an old-timey pedigree to it. Like, it was part of an actually decent standard deck in like 2003 or 2004. I also like that it is flexible and kind of encourages interesting decision making. So you can use it to exile an opponent's creature until end of turn to prevent them from attacking or blocking with it. But you can also exile one of your own things to get the ETB again. I think that's the most common use case. And you can use it in conjunction with board wipes, either one you've cast or one an opponent cast, because it exiles the creature until end of turn. So you can just dodge a board wipe entirely with it if you have enough cycling cards. I also like that the fact that it uses cycling encourages branching out into different synergy elements, because you're kind of encouraged to use graveyards and other self-discard as well. And I like that it kind of gives you a push that way. And I definitely enjoyed building around that in my Astral Slide deck.
Hello, everyone. For my challenge to stats, I was really thinking about several different cards. But since I only play good cards, it's kind of hard to think of one that I run that I generally consider overrated or underrated. You know, since I'm so perfect and awesome and everything. But then I realized the whole point of challenge to stats is to look at cards in relation to other cards. So, pulling up White of the Reliquary and using the card filters tool on EDHREC, I pulled up how many included Westvale Abbey, and I was actually kind of shocked. Even though Westvale Abbey has a positive lift on White of the Reliquary's EDHREC page, I still feel like 6.4% inclusion is abysmally low for this card. Think about it. With White, you're generally rewarded for having go wide boards, stuff that's easy to sack. Being able to grab a win condition from the mana base in this kind of strategy is such a good tool to have in those games where you get locked under a Drannith Magistrate or what have you. Long story short, if you're going to run a colorless land, cut the Reliquary Tower and run a Westvale Abbey in these decks so you can have a plan B from the mana base. I'm not calling Ormondal a super bomb or anything, but a 9/7 with lifelink is quite a decent life swing and does have the potential to close out games that have gotten a bit in the mud. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Hello, I'm Anna Margaret, and I think that Evolving Wilds might be a bit overplayed.
Ooh.
I know for me, this used to be almost an auto-include like Soul Ring in most of my commander decks. I looked on EDHREC, and it actually is a 20.7% inclusion rate, so that means a lot of other people are playing Evolving Wilds too. Now, while it is good for fixing your mana, I have to think that it might be better in most cases to have a basic land. I do still think Evolving Wilds really shines in landfall decks and land-focused decks, so there's definitely places for Evolving Wilds. But I think in many decks, it might not be the best include, and a basic land might be better. What do you think?
All right, so when Joey reached out and asked if I would participate in the 400th episode, well, obviously I was gonna, and he gave me a chance to rant about some cards for a commander, so why not? First thing, the card that's probably overplayed that annoys me the most is Cyclonic Rift. And honestly, it's because so many of y'all just cast it to not even win. Like, I've literally asked the last two people in games I've sat in with, I've asked, do you actually have a way to win? Or are you just casting it to cast it? And they're like, well, no, I probably can't win in the next couple turns. And I've literally had to talk them out of casting it just so the game could be over. It's okay to not win the game, y'all. It's okay to just let the game end. Especially when you've already played for a couple hours. But anyway, rant aside, the card I do actually get asked for or asked about the most, or actually I would say get the most surprising looks when I play it, is Damning Verdict. And this is a card that I think is a surprise that it doesn't get played more, because there's a lot of decks that like +1/+1 counters, like a bunch. I mostly play it in my Black Panther deck, I think is where I played it most recently, but there's a bunch. And this card's actually genuinely good, and it's not even very expensive if you want to get your hands on it. But it's kind of surprising considering how many sweepers we have available, especially in White, and how many decks like +1/+1 counters, that at some point when people aren't looking to build their decks, that they don't see this card. A lot of times I cast it, and I've even had people go, oh yeah, and your creatures too. I'm like, no, mine have counters. Like, this is just a cool card. So yeah, if I was going to talk about one that's underplayed, I think this one gets the mark for me, at least among the decks I've played recently and the reactions I've seen from people. But anyway, congrats on 400.
And thank all of you for being a part of it.
5-mana wraths are good, folks.
I mean,
tune into Daquan more for actually like really good insight, because I agree with it.
So it feels like one of those cards that is so obvious, right? Damning Verdict. Oh, this is the thing that you put into the decks that have +1 counters on them, right? I realized when Daquan sent that in that I don't have Damning Verdict in my new Celis Rune Knight deck, and she puts +1 counters on all my stuff. Why am I not? So thank you for the reminder. I really appreciate that. And it is just one of those things that does slip you by for some freaking reason. Yeah, fantastic card. And even some incidental applications of +1 counters could make this one-sided in a really fun way.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's easy to not think about, but there are so many board wipes that are more or less one-sided board wipes at this point, and it's easy to forget that's one of them. But like, if you are playing a +1 counters deck, it just should be in your deck. But I'm sympathetic to folks that aren't running it, because like, I've looked at a whole lot of dragon decks over the years that aren't running, say, Crux of Fate, despite having access to black. Like, there's just so many choices. It's easy to miss that. But if you have the option to be able to wipe the board and not touch your stuff, I would suggest you do that. However, that brings me to then like the Cyclonic Rift. challenge.
Yeah.
So while I say that, I also agree Cyclonic Rift kind of sucks, and I haven't played it for years since I've had it in a deck, despite it being a one-sided board wipe.
The irony.
So I understand that there's a whole lot of lack of logic in those statements, but I'm in agreement with both of those things. Play more Damning Verdict, play less Cyclonic Rift.
Well, and on the Damning Verdict piece, like I don't have any white decks that care about +1/+1 counters, but I do have a blue one that plays Wave Goodbye, which is kind of the same thing. It's just the board wipe in blue. There's so many 5-mana wraths. You can customize whatever you're trying to do. And it's like kind of silly if you're not playing around that with whatever your theme is. If you have a theme to your deck, play the board wipe that plays into that theme, just in general, because it's so good, whether it's an enchantment deck and you can play Winds of Wrath and all that stuff. But I also agree with you, Dana. Like, I don't think Cyclonic Rift sucks. It is probably the most anticlimactic way to end a game, though. That's one that, like, I have it in a couple decks, and I don't feel good about it because I know it's so good. Matt has 7 mana. We know it's coming, and they always know. It's so telegraphed. It's really hard to feel good, for me at least, when it comes to a Cyclonic Rift win.
Matt, I see your allegation that Cyclonic Rift is the most anticlimactic, and I raise you a tutor into a Cyclonic Rift as the
I have done that, and I feel really stupid about it, yeah.
And I appreciate that Snail and Elk are coming in with some like specificity on some stuff that they're really passionate about. I want to get to Anna Margaret's Evolving Wilds challenge. I thought that was one of the most fascinating ones that we've seen in this whole episode, actually. And it's something that you've
been on that train for a while, Joey, yeah.
Kind of, yeah, because I see this a lot in 2-color decks that are not landfall decks. And so an Evolving Wilds coming in, you're getting a tapped basic, and it's going to give you one of your colors, compared to, even if you just played like a freaking Guild Gate, that would be a tapped land that gives you either of your colors in the future. But I appreciate her focus here on the tempo versus the color fixing. Commander is getting more efficient over time, so losing out on potential tempo is getting to be more and more of a cost these days, and it is the kind of thing that makes us look at some of these cards a little bit more critically. And 20% of decks is a whole lot. This card and Terramorphic Expanse and other things like that are constantly showing up in precons, but they've also been power crept by even little stuff like Escape Tunnel, which is an Evolving Wilds effect that could also give an unblockable ability just temporarily, but it's one of those cards that you have to go out of your way to even research in the first place, right? So I really appreciate her focus on this one.
There's so many precons that are out there that are playing this and Terramorphic Expanse and now Vibrant Cityscape, and they're all doing functionally the same thing. There's so many copies out there, and if you're playing 3 colors or more, it's still great. It's still something that you're going to fix your colors. But if you're playing those 2 colors, I am on your train, Joey, that you probably don't want to do it, because just play a Guild Gate, play a tapped land, anything else. I actually don't think that the tempo loss that players love to talk about with tapped lands is actually that big of a deal, because that's less attention that you're drawing on yourself. Whereas if somebody like blasts their way out, curves out, that's going to be so much more attention on someone else. It's in my interpretation of like how Dana loves to play. I'm going to play a little bit slower, let other people draw the attention, get all the removal spells out of their way, and then I'm going to come in once I've been able to set up. I actually don't think that is too far away from, okay, I'm just going to play a tapped land, a triome, or a tapped, anything that's tapped, it comes in, whether it's a temple or whatever. I don't hate any of those options.
Well, 2-color deck too. Like a few years back, we did a deck building challenge. I can't even remember whose stream it was on, with a really low budget, like $25 or something. And I had put a 2-color deck in that challenge. And my mana base had a bunch of like Guild Gate-esque, lands in it to make the 2 colors. And I realized as I was playing it, I'm like, oh, I would rather just have 17 of each basic in this deck. It would have played smoother just running nothing in a 2-color deck. Now, if you have access to like a good shock lands or whatever, it plays even better. But I would rather absolutely in a 2-color deck run basics than I would Evolving Wilds or Guild Gates for the most part, unless you have 1 or 2 of them. But like if you got a bunch of them, I just want to run basics. Like it just plays better.
It took 400 episodes for Dana to say, I would prefer to play basics.
I know.
Only took 400 episodes.
That's the real accomplishment here. It's interesting. I want to return to your take there, Matt, about the tempo. For me, at least just within the past 2 weeks, I can recall 2 games off the top of my head right now where I had a tapped land, and had that been an untapped source of mana, I would have had the 1 more mana than I needed to do thing A and thing B and really secure my position a lot more safely. So I did have slight mana frustration frustrations from tapped things just in recent games. And that's
but all the hate that you would draw from doing thing 1 and thing 2 in the same turn, I think there is, and it depends on the pot. It depends on your play group, depends on what the deck is. If you want to be doing thing 1 and thing 2, that's a little bit different from, okay, I don't want to get all the attention on me. I need to play my hand out, obviously, but I also don't want everybody to like turn all their attention on me and ignore the other big threats at the table because it's still too early to be drawing all that heat. I think that's definitely a factor in some games.
But in the times where I could win if I do thing 1 and thing 2 at the same turn, though. Sure. That's the moments that are like sticking out to me. So,
And Joey, because you said the words one more mana, Ken just texted me 3 insults about my dad. Yeah, you summon him like he's Joe Hendry.
Let me tell you about your daddy.
Wow, that is wild. Okay. Real quick, I want to call out in the background of 3-3 Elk's video there, they referred to Thraben Charm as a potential card that they could have challenged as underplayed too. And I actually do want to draw a little bit of attention to that because that's one that has been going up and up and up in my estimation as well. That's a 2-mana modal white instant that can either deal damage to a creature or destroy an enchantment or exile any number of graveyards. And as much as I hate having graveyards exiled, I think that card's also pretty darn good.
Sure.
Interesting removal spell, not even showing up in a full 1% of decks yet. So kind of a sleeper hit hidden in Elk's video in the challenge there. So it's just kind of a funny thing I wanted to mention.
I mean, it's a modular card. I found those are the cards that always kind of feel like they overperform. They're almost never dead because there's always some useful situation for them in your deck. It's just almost always generating way more value than you would think it would.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some really fascinating ones. We've got another group to get here. Let's hear it from our friends Tappy Toeclaws, Amy the Amazonian, and Dark Pact Cosplay.
Hello, EDHREC, and EDH players, and Commander players too. You have rights, and you're here also. Please play Descent into Avernus more. It is played in like 3.3% of the decks, I think. Somebody check my stats. I checked it before this video. I promise I did some homework. But more importantly, please play Descent into Avernus. However much you think you're playing it, you need to play it more. I don't care that it's like a $15 card, so it probably is appreciated. I'm not saying every card should be $4 at most, but I want every Commander game to go faster, have people do more shit, take more damage so that we can shuffle up, go get a beer, and then play game number 2. Descent into Avernus is great. It is a card that damages people, but it also gives them something. So I don't think I've ever played it at a table, and maybe this is just me and my specific group of people, but I don't know. I'm the coolest person I know, and my friends are the second coolest people that I know, and we're the ones playing Commander, so I don't know. But every table I've ever played it is like cheering when something happens that allows everybody to do stuff and punches everybody in the face a little bit. Thunderdome, for real, please play Descent into Avernus. It is the best card that was released, whatever fucking god-awful year Baldur's Gate actually came out. Was it pre-2020? It might have been. I think it was pre. Anyway, whatever that year was, and every year since, Descent into Avernus is still the best card that has come out. It is. I want it to be in every red deck. I expect it to be in every red deck. It's in every single red deck of mine. I actually just thought of a red deck that I just made that I need to add it to. It doesn't really fit the theme, but it's going in there anyway because it's red. And it goes the fastest, so I can put it in there. Put Descent into Avernus into all of your decks that have red in them. And if your decks don't have red in them, get a better commander that has red in it so you can play Descent into Avernus. Thank you for coming into my Descent talk. If I had red string, I would put it up there. Play Descent into Avernus. This is your Captain Tabby speaking, and you will have more fun and play more games. Go do it. Be very cool.
Take a breath, homie.
That whole video had really big Descent into Avernus energy.
Yes. Karlak herself blessed that video.
Yeah.
More people should be playing each other's cards. I don't mean that in the borrowing deck sense. I mean more people should be doing crime in Magic the Gathering. Stealing each other's cards, not committing a crime. That's something else that has to do with targeting. And I think the crime card that is woefully unrepresented is Bribery. 5 mana, target an opponent, take a creature from their deck, and put it into play under your control. Now, if I could do that for 5 mana in, say, black, like, oh yeah, I'm just going to put a creature into play from my deck, I would. But guess what? I can do it in blue for any of the other people at my table, which is great. I can cut them off from their combos. I could take the key piece that helps me do whatever it is I'm trying to do in my crime decks, and I also just get to cause problems and chaos. Also, if your friends are cool with it, they'll like tell you what card you should take, because Gosh, I am not reading every single card in my opponent's deck. I will just be like, that one has the highest mana value. Highest mana value. I'm taking this one. And they're like, that doesn't do anything. It doesn't matter. As long as it's not Phage, I'm good with it.
Hello, fellow EDH players. Dark Pack Cosplay here. I'm here to tell you about one of my favorite underutilized cards in our format, Season of the Witch. Season of the Witch is a wonderful old enchantment from all the way back in the dark. It's on the reserve list technically, but it's only used in 0.04% of decks, which is wild to me. I think this is one of the best mono black enchantments out there. So how are we utilizing Season of the Witch? I like to think of it as an accelerant within a game, but that accelerant that can work in your favor if you set up the right pieces, right? We want our opponents to be swinging at each other, and then we put up a wall of, let's say, inconveniences so they don't swing at you. They're doing the hard work for you. One of my favorite things to do in EDH. I personally run this in my Witch King of Agmar deck. I also really love putting No Mercy effects, Revenge of the Ravens, Marchesa's Decree, and then utilizing things like Death Touchers when I'm forced to attack. Blocking me is really inconvenient, and if you're sending stuff my way, I'm gonna have a few Death Touchers that I might have put in the last turn that you'd have to swing into. So if you love pushing your pod into a death that is most assuredly caused by their own hand, Season of the Witch is a wonderful piece to put into your deck, and I hope you'll consider it.
Man, I think they took like 3 breaths total between all of those clips just now. That was some real excitement for what they were talking about, and rightfully so, though.
Yeah, this was our Chaos Gremlin type of section here of clips,
yes,
I think, a little bit. Oh, my word. Tappy, Amy, Darkback, love you all. And really fantastic picks. I love Tappy's focus on the cards that get the cool, big reaction from the table. That has always 100% of the time been my experience with Descent into Avernus as well, is that when people see it, you cannot help but get excited. So while we do like to focus on leveling up and putting a lot of thought into the craft of your decks to make sure that these things can give you these little edges that might all add up, at some point you do sometimes just got to take a hammer to that whole idea and just be like, what's the fun card? And that's such a great energy to see.
I mean, Descent into Avernus is just... it's a card that moves the game forward, like Tappy said. It makes sure that things are always happening no matter what. And I love those types of cards. I would put it into more decks if I just had more copies. And just, I always, again, it's kind of like the trading post. It's the 102nd card in every red deck. And I just end up cutting it for some reason or whatever, because yeah, it's going to give everybody mana, but it also makes everybody take damage. And it's really cool. But I don't know. It's one of those cards that I always find myself cutting at the last minute.
So I do have kind of a general note here on Bribery, and it's more the concept of old cards that were once staples. So like Bribery once upon a time, way back at the turn of the century when we first started this podcast, was like a commander staple. It was in, most blue decks, and definitely has fallen out of favor over the years. And while I have not gone back to play it, I've gone back to playing Cryptic Command, a card that was very much a staple of EDH and Eternal formats like Modern for years. And I hadn't played it for a long time, but I found myself in a position where the versatility of being able to get blockers out of the way to punch through damage, while also drawing a card or countering a spell or whatever, having that on one piece of cardboard is really, really useful. So just because a card has fallen out of favor doesn't mean it's not still really good. I think that applies to Cryptic Command for me, and definitely can apply to Bribery as well.
That's just it. Bribery was pretty famous in the early days of the EDH for all right, cool, I'm going to grab someone's Avacyn or someone's Eldrazi or something like that. And I think that's what we always constantly associate it with. But as the format has gotten more efficient, it feels like the targets are getting fewer and farther between, because now people are playing a lot more of those 1 through 3 drops that will make sure that they can have earlier impacts on the board. So it feels as though the power of Bribery has therefore gone down. And that can be true, but also... maybe it's not quite as consistent that there's always going to be an Avacyn in every white deck or anything like maybe it used to be in the days of yore. But even if the density of huge creatures to steal has gone down, the power of huge creatures feels to me like it's still pretty darn good. Taking someone's Atali Primal Conqueror or something and then stealing even more spells as a result of that. I feel like the threats do still be threating. Mm-hmm. Even the little ways that Spellslinger decks can take advantage of a Bribery deck now. Have you ever seen a Bribery get copied a couple of times? Mm-hmm. While it has changed in some ways, it has also gotten new doors to open. It still feels like it would be pretty darn good. So yeah, there's a handful of those spells that I look back on and I'm I have them in one place in my mind, I should update them, but that doesn't mean that they always need to go down. It could be a lateral movement, given the way that the format continues to evolve upon things.
I mean, some people out there have never cast Bribery for an Eldrazi Titan, and it really shows. It's such a classic, like 2013 Commander, EDH type of play there. But yeah, Bribery is still fantastic because, I mean, yes, you're right, Joey. The format's gotten more efficient, but also the threats have gotten more threatening. And so, you don't need to steal a 7-drop to get the same effect as a 5-drop these days. My only concern is Bribery requires your opponents to be playing better cards than you are. Like, why would you play Bribery if you're not just playing your own big threat? And so sometimes there is some weird balance there that I don't always love. But you're right. Like, okay, I can lock my opponent, I should say, out from their combo piece because I just stole their Yawgmoth or whatever it is. So yeah, there's a lot of things to like about Bribery that just people haven't experienced it because it's just an older card that has kind of fallen out of favor in the past few years.
Well, it can be used to plug a utility hole in your deck too. Like if you're playing, blue, red or something, and you have no way in that kind of deck to recur a permanent, well, that green player who has Eternal Witness in their deck, that's going to solve that problem for me. Even just taking utility stuff, if it's a kind of thing that you don't have access to in your colors, that can be pretty devastating. Like it can be really useful in that kind of situation.
Cool. Let me go grab your Druid of Purification.
Right. Yeah.
To destroy artifacts and enchantments that my Dimir deck can't do on its own. That kind of thing.
I'm just sad that we're spitting on Kibler's idea of like no more tutors, take tutors out of your deck. But I guess it's okay if you're tutoring for people's cards in their own decks instead of your deck.
Yeah,
there we go.
I took tutors out of my deck.
I won't search my library, but I will search yours.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. Yeah. And also a great shout out to the Season of the Witch card too. A card that forces everyone to attack or else. How perfect.
Awesome. Well, let's get into our last couple here. We've got some friends from over at MTG Goldfish. We've got Tomer and Krim coming up with also some pretty entertaining challenges.
Hey, EDHREC crew. First of all, congratulations on reaching episode 400. That's an awesome milestone. And now, for this challenge of stats, I have a card that I've been playing for over a decade now and continue to do so in Commander. It is Hidden Strings. So this is a 2-mana blue sorcery that says you may tap or untap target permanent, and then you may tap or untap another target permanent. And it also has Cipher. Cipher says when you cast it, you can exile the card, encode it onto a creature you control, and whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player, you can cast a copy of the encoded card without paying its mana cost. So I view Hidden Strings as a weird blue ramp card in decks that have a consistent source of evasive creatures. That means either the commander has built-in flying or unblockable or something like that, or the 99 is just full of evasive creatures. Basically, you cast Hidden Strings, it costs 2 mana, you immediately untap 2 lanes you control, and then you encode it onto an evasive creature, you smack somebody, and then you untap 2 more lands. That's a baseline, but I think the card gets even nuttier when you have more powerful permanents to untap. Like bounce lands now tap for 2 mana, so now you're ramping even more. If you have like Thrain Dynamos and stuff in your deck, that gets even nuttier. If you have any other permanents with really powerful activated abilities or something like that, you can untap those too. And because you are casting the spell every single time you trigger Cipher, it works really well with like spell slinger decks that have a lot of evasion too, because that means just more triggers of your Archmage Emeritus or your Stormkiln Artist or whatever, things that care about casting instants of sorceries. I personally run this in my Indomitable list, aka Boat Edric, because the deck is just full of like 1/1 evasive creatures to encode onto. I run it in Talrand because Talrand makes a bunch of 2/2 Drakes, perfect things to encode, and then whenever we trigger Cipher, we make another Drake. It's super awesome. Also, my Furcrag list runs it too. Furcrag has flying and evasion itself, and also the deck runs a bunch of flying dragons that you could also encode onto. So lots of different homes for this list. None of them are green, but it's just like evasive beaters in blue. This card is kind of awesome. So personally speaking, I think this card should see more play.
Yo, it's Krim, and if I've got to pick the most overrated card in Commander, in my opinion, I think it's got to be Esper Sentinel. This card is so expensive, and it's really only good on turn 1, because in casual pods, after the setup turns, it kind of doesn't do anything, right? It triggers once on the first non-creature, and everyone at the late points of the game will be able to pay for it. It just doesn't do enough. Unless you're a dedicated shell that can really take advantage of this card, it's not worth generically jamming into your deck. If I've got to pick one card that is severely underrated in Commander, it's got to be the Dyson of MTG, the household appliance itself, the Ghost Vacuum. This card is absurdly cheap, and it's always good to eat your veggies. And what I mean by that is that you should always have more graveyard hate in your deck, and one that can operate at instant speed, pick off things throughout the game, and then eventually, at some point, this vacuum is loaded up with so many creatures exiled underneath it, it could potentially just be your win con.
Bold take there, Crimothy. You come into my house and recommend people play more Graveyard of Hate? How very dare. How very, very dare.
I mean, but he does have a point, though. I really like stuff like Soul Guide, Lantern, Ghost Vacuum is kind of that same vein where it's just like, okay, you hit something right away, and then over time, you just kind of sit there and just keep a little bit of pressure on the rest of your opponents, making sure they don't get to kind of freely do whatever they want to do. Mm-hmm. That's super important if you're trying to like slow the game down a little bit and make sure things happen on your own terms. Like basically, if you're not playing Descent into Avernus, you want to play more cards like Ghost Vacuum.
Okay, well, what do y'all make of his Esper Sentinel as an overrated card pick, though? I feel like that's probably the most controversial thing that we've heard all episode.
I don't think he's wrong relative to price. Like, if you're playing in bracket 2, I don't know if it justifies the amount of money it would cost you to put one in a deck. Because I do think there's points in the game where it's not going to, like, your mana isn't being used in that bracket the way it is in CEDH.
Yeah.
People are just going to have the mana to spend on it. So yeah, there's situations definitely in B2 where it's not going to live up to the hype. However, man, in higher power brackets, it definitely earns its keep. And also, like, there are enough situations where it gets buffed by what the deck is doing, and people are just unable to pay the 4 or 5 it then winds up costing them.
Yeah.
Most importantly, though, it is kind of a boring card, right? Like it's one of those things where it could go into every single deck, and you probably wouldn't be wrong necessarily if it cost 30 cents. So I'm not going to discourage folks from running less Esper Sentinel. I don't love to see it, and it is kind of uninteresting.
I think uninteresting is a really good way to put it. I'm a little bit with Krim, actually, though. Like, I don't have it in any decks because I just find the attention that it grabs, the impact that it has throughout the entire game. Yes, it's probably super, super annoying to deal with on those early turns. It absolutely is. But once you kind of get past those first few turns, unless you're doing stuff like Cathar's Crusade or finding ways to put counters on all of your creatures, if you're going out of your way to increase the tax on Esper Sentinel, that's a lot of work for something like people can just play around later on or early on even too. How are you winning that game if all you're doing is maybe drawing a card a turn? Now, it is each opponent, so like there's a chance to get several cards per turn, but also like for the price, I'm actually with Krim. I know this is unpopular, but I'm taking that side.
I would say I'm certainly not going to spend $50 on this card, and I haven't. I don't own one, and I have not gone out of my way to get one.
No.
Most of the decks that I play with white also have another color that is doing stuff that helps me draw in the first place anyway. Like, would I put this into my black-white tokens deck? No, I don't think so. I'm not buffing it up in those ways. So in that case, sure, I can co-sign. But there are enough other decks that are just like, oh, incidentally, my artifact creatures will get a little bit of a buff, or I'm just like, yeah, this feels great to me there. So I'll fall a little bit on the other side of where you're falling there, Matt, I guess. But it's nice to have one that gets us a talk in here. Challenger stats should be bold.
Yeah, I mean, it's 685,000 decks. Like, that's a ton of decks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dana, I feel like you have the most experience with the hidden string suggestion that Tomer put forward.
You don't have to convince me to run Cypher cards. It's one of my favorite mechanics to the point where I have a deck built around Cypher. Am I running hidden strings in it? I'm running Shadow Slice. I'm running Trait Doctoring. I'm running Grim Paranoia.
You're running Trait Doctoring?
Cards so bad that you don't know which one of those I just made up, because one of them's made up. So absolutely, I am running hidden strings in that deck. I love that card. I love that mechanic. I am fully on board with that pick. Hidden strings rules, and Cypher is a fantastic mechanic.
Heck yeah.
I think Tomer hit some strings with Dana.
Yeah, absolutely.
Struck a chord even.
That's fantastic. Well, cool. Yeah, I'm glad to hear there's been such great experiences with it, because it is yet another one of those cards where I look at it and I'm just like, I don't know. And what happens to my, if my creature that is got the Cypher card on it, if it goes away, then I've lost out on value the way I might lose out on an aura. But it's nice to hear such glowing recommendations. I think the whole point of Challenge to Stats is to find stuff that is bold, and to also find stuff that you wouldn't have given a second thought to before, and to re-encourage a little bit more critical thinking on some of these cards, so that you can find stuff that it turns out may actually help you in ways that you didn't even expect it would. So this has been such a fun journey listening through all this, folks. Look how cool this community is. They're coming up with all these fantastic cards, right?
Well, and it's fun too, because like we have our 3 ways that we approach the game, but hearing just how different this game is to so many different individuals out there, like I think that's a testament to why Commander has been such a success as it has become in 2026, because it means something different to everybody who plays it. And that's such a beautiful and wonderful and fun thing about Commander.
And given like a lot of the cards that were recommended by people are cards I was already running in decks, I'm glad to see how wise the other content creators out there are as well. It gives me a lot of faith in the system.
Dana just patting his own back over here.
Oh my goodness.
Absolutely wild. Well, guys, this has been quite a journey and quite a treat. What a fun episode 400.
Yeah.
I really want to hear from our listeners what they think about all of these various challenges, and we hope that you enjoyed this Challenge the Stats extravaganza of an episode. It was nice of us to, lean back and not always have to be the ones who are hogging the Challenge the Stats spotlight. It was fun to hear from everyone else too about the stuff that makes them passionate, because it's kind of the whole point of the game, right?
Yeah, I'm glad the kids can. I'm glad those kids can pick up what we were laying down and carry the torch, as it were.
Yeah. With that, though, I think it's time that we call this episode to a close. So, fellas, if people want to get in touch with you online, where is it that they can find you out there on the interwebs doing other Magic stuff?
So you can find me pretty much on any social media platform at Mathemus55. It's Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram, whatever you want out there. And don't forget, going into 2026, we're still working with Dragon Shield because we just love their products and we love working with them. They have so many awesome things coming up in 2026. You do not want to miss anything they have coming out. Truly, they have some really exciting things and some things, like I said, that we don't even know about. So if you want to get your hands on some of those awesome new products coming out in 2026, head over to the website, use code EDHREC when you check out, and get yourself 5% off, and you can get some of the best products out there.
And Dana.
And you can find me online at Dana Roach. I'm writing articles for EDHREC. I'm doing social media for Architect, so check out their Instagram and TikTok, putting a lot of stuff on there, including short form videos and videos of my cat. And you can find all of us together at patreon.com/EDHRECast.
And you can find me everywhere online, from Instagram to Blue Sky at Joseph M. Schultz online. And you can find the cast online at EDHRECast on all of the socials. Thank you, everyone out there, for a fantastic 400. Listeners, we'll be back at you next week with more data and insights. But until then, remember, EDHREC your deck before you wreck your deck.